Hey up guys, welcome to the only place where you're going to get wrestling content from a blind person's point of view. This is Wrestling in the Dark, and today it's time to talk about WWE Survivor Series pay-per-view, which was this last weekend. This year, it's the first time that Raw, Smackdown and NXT have gone head-to-head. There's all sorts of multi-man matches, triple threats, elimination tag matches. There's all sorts of fast-paced action, so if you want to know what it's like for someone who can't see it all, chill out, have fun, and we'll take a look at Survivor Series. So I'm not really going to be going through this the same way that I usually would. The truth is that the commentary wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great. It was sort of pretty basic. So I don't feel like I need to run through each match spot for spot, move for move, and go through what they called, especially not with there being these Survivor Series elimination tag matches. So I just thought I'd offer some of my thoughts so that I didn't have to not speak about it at all. So, I didn't watch the pre-show, I never do. It's been a long while since I actually watched a main roster pay-per-view. In fact, I think the last time that I watched one and covered one would have been Clash of Champions, so it really has been a little while. And honestly, if watching this pay-per-view did anything, it sort of proved to me that I'm just not really invested anymore. The NXT angle is definitely what kept me invested with Elimination Chamber. You know what? I did that in the intro. I had to do the intro like 3 times because I kept saying Elimination Chamber. I don't know why. I think it's maybe just because it's like gimmick pay-per-views or because it's like the elimination tag match. But yeah, there's just I've not really been invested in main roster for a while, and I keep up to date, but even then there was one point that I'll get to a little bit later that I was like, wow, I just this is flowing completely under my radar. But it started with the NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown women's elimination tag match. Now, this was pretty good. I actually quite liked it. I was really excited to see all of the NXT women get that chance to shine on the main roster. The fact that it was quite a lot of, the favourites that you've got. You've got Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair. Although I'm not a massive fan of Bianca, I have definitely warmed over this weekend just because of her performance in War Games. And in this match, actually, I think that she did pretty well. She definitely got the KOD on Carmella at one point, which Michael Cole, actually, to his credit, did explain was a torture rack facebuster, which I didn't actually know. So I was like, okay, Cole, thanks for that. I really actually do appreciate that. There's a couple of things that I've been going back and forth with it, and I've still not quite decided how I feel. So NXT were pretty much the heels in this match, especially towards like the finish because of what happened. So at one point, Candice and Io both looked like they were injured. The medics took them away and they were gone from the match. Now this is pretty cool because it's like the second time in 2 nights that Rhea Ripley's ended up on this underdog team where she's got so many more opponents than she has allies, and I like that. But it's also a little bit of it's a little bit repetitive. Like, okay, we just saw this last night, except I guess it's with even more people. But it was really cool just seeing Rhea, Toni Storm and Bianca Belair sort of holding the fort down, and then later on just Rhea and Bianca once Toni Storm got eliminated, which I thought that they did a really good job with Toni putting over the work that she's done in NXT UK. She got a few chances to shine. I've definitely got a few notes about her. I think she got a double suplex at one point, and the way she got eliminated was getting locked in a sharpshooter and a bank statement at the same time. And now you've got Natalya, who's a multi-time women's champ, been there for ages. She's a veteran. You got Sasha Banks, who's this vicious, horrible heel woman since she's come back and has been one of the top stars in the women's division on the main roster for years now. So the fact that it took both of them to eliminate Toni Storm, I thought was actually really, really cool. Now, Candice and Io, with them going off and looking like they were injured, they came back later in the match, King was absolutely convinced they weren't actually injured. And I wasn't really sure, because obviously I can't see the selling, etc., etc. I didn't know whether they looked like they were hurt still, but they were just coming back down to try and make the save, which they're perfectly within their rights to do. It doesn't cause a DQ, so it's not actually cheating that much. But I don't know, Candice. Why? I'm not sure why they would have Candice be one of them, with her having such a rivalry with Io Shirai at the minute. Maybe if it had been Bianca Belair, it would have been would have made a little bit more sense and left Rhea and Toni Storm to hold down the fort. That wouldn't have been too bad. But then I guess you would have had to, because then it would have been Rhea, Candice, and Toni, and that wouldn't have been too bad. So I'm really not sure why they did it. But maybe it was to prove that brand loyalty is stronger than the rivalries that they have. Right, okay, I really don't like Io Shirai, but I really want NXT to win. So I'm going to just team up with her and we'll do this, what Rhea came up with, or Triple H, whoever actually came up with the game plan. I just found it a little bit weird, but I also didn't hate it. It was sort of, it's not been a great experience for me with the main roster, just because it's listening to I was going to say JR then. Listening to King again just makes me realise how much he used to annoy me back in the day, and I have to hear him talk, and I'm just I wish so much that it was just I wish it was just Michael and Beth, or Michael and Nigel, or something. Just go away. I really did think they did a good job with this, though. Bianca got a lot of time to shine. I didn't really feel like Carmella got much. There was a point where she attacked two of them. I can't really remember what she did, but she was covering them both, one after the other, and every time they kick out, she'd scream, and it'd get more frustrated each time, and I did think that was pretty funny. But other than that, I don't think that she did anything particularly cool. Dana was pretty much absent from this match in terms of just going from commentary and what they might have said. I didn't have many notes on her or Sarah Logan, other than the fact that she went toe to toe with Bianca for a little bit. But like I said, I didn't feel like it was bad commentary. It just also wasn't good commentary. There's a lot of big kicks and right hands and unloading shots and power move, etc., etc. Whereas more accustomed to the NXT commentary now, where it's a little bit more in detail, etc., etc. So I gave it a strong 4. Stupid phone, man. I've got it set to not turn off. I don't really understand why it times out and turns off, because I swear I've got it set to permanently don't do that. Anyway, I think I gave it a strong 4, and I think it deserves that. Probably from a visual standpoint, probably deserved more. I'm sure people are going to be like, it deserved way more than that. This was a great match. But coming straight off of the War Games pay-per-view, where we've had that absolutely insane women's War Games match, this felt a little bit safer, a little bit tamer, and the commentary didn't drag me in quite as much as AEW. I was going to say then. My brain today, I don't know what is wrong with it. I'm just a bit more accustomed to the NXT style, so I'm not really sure what else I've got to say about this match. I did really like it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good start to the pay-per-view. I got into it, and I thought that it made the NXT women look really good. Definitely on par with the main roster women. Showed people what they all can do, and I'm sure that people will be a lot more behind these women than they were before. And if they hadn't heard of them before, that might actually draw some eyes to the NXT and maybe even NXT UK brands, because they're like, I want to go see what that Toni Storm's doing, although I expect her to show up in NXT anytime soon. Strong versus Styles versus Nakamura was up next, and I was looking forward to this probably the most out of the whole show. This one, as soon as they announced that they were doing the Survivor Series thing, this was one of the matches that crossed my mind that man, if we get this match, then I'm going to be a happy man. and boy did it deliver. It really, really did. I've just gone through my notes looking through it, and I could go through, but I actually think the commentary did a really good job, other than King, because I don't like him, and he caused probably the only things that I've got to complain about in this match. But Michael Cole and Nigel McGuinness, when they get on commentary together, oh my god, is it good. They just do such a good job together. It's like Michael enjoys working with Nigel, and it just puts him on his game and he wants to impress him or something. I don't know, it's just, it always comes across as they're having a really good time. And that's the one thing that I didn't like King for in this match. Didn't feel like he had a very good chemistry with Nigel at all. In fact, there was a couple of times where I felt like they were sort of sniping at each other, and it didn't come across. It didn't even really come across in the Corey Graves, Byron Saxton sort of way, where it's like, oh, this is playful. It came across sort of just annoyingly. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm such a mark for Nigel, but at one point, it's sort of like maybe halfway into the match, and we've been getting all these really cool spots, just strikes everywhere. Nakamura hitting so many knees, and there's elbows flying and kicks and all these sorts of things. And then King tells Nigel to calm down. He's like, "You're getting a bit excited there, Nigel, calm down." And I was just like, you shut the hell up. You shut up, King, and don't start talking again until you're ready to say something actually useful or entertaining, because I am not having you telling him to calm down, because Nigel's pure mirth at wrestling is one of the things that I genuinely really enjoy about him, and that makes me enjoy the matches that he's watching. Man, when you watch an NXT UK show, looking back at that Tyler Bate-Walter match from a few months back now with the TakeOver Cardiff, his enjoyment of that match made it so much better. And same with this match, where I was like, I was really enjoying how much he was enjoying it. So when King told him to calm down, I was like, you whatever, Cole. I also didn't like that Roderick Strong has always been portrayed as like a family man on NXT. Obviously, he's a dirty heel with Undisputed, but he's a family guy. He's tough, and I don't know. I feel like they try to present the story of him, coming from a trailer in his background. They tried to present that as this inspirational story, and then King just jumped on it and just made jokes about him being a hellbilly the entire time, just trying to make him sound like some redneck. Like, I don't know, it was really bad. He was like, did he at least live in a double wide? And when we got the finish of the match, he was criticising him then as well. One of the coolest spots in this match, in my opinion, was I really liked Strong gets an Olympic slam, but he hangs on, keeps the control, and delivers what Beth called a double underhook powerbomb, which I assume is just a tiger bomb, but I'm not sure why she didn't call it that. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I also liked that at one point AJ and Nakamura got into a strike fest, and they're like hitting each other back and forth, and then AJ hits a massive shot, but Naka goes back and doesn't go down because of the ropes. And I always like that sort of thing. Like, it just makes the ring feel like it's an actual useful object in the match, where Naka would have gone down and AJ probably could have covered him, but the ropes were there and he went against them, and that stopped him from falling down, and that's one of the reasons why AJ didn't win. Sami Zayn was another reason. He slammed him face first into the ring post at some point. Strong just come along and levelled him with a knee, and that really is one of the most common moves in this match. As I was going through the notes, it's just like, knee from Naka, knee from Strong, AJ knees someone in the face, Strong knees him in the gut, Naka knees him in the face. It's just everywhere. Elbows, knees, and fists, I think, were just the main body of this match. I don't know whether there was any real wrestling. And then at the end, I actually really enjoyed it. At the end, AJ goes for the Styles Clash. Nakamura avoids that, and then he gets a phenomenal forearm, but Strong runs in, steals the cover, and gets the win. And I was like, bloody hell, I really wasn't expecting that. I couldn't believe it that they actually went with Strong getting the win. And then King's like, how can he be proud of that victory? And Nigel was like, whatever, you'd have been proud of that if that was you. And King was like, oh, just waiting over there in the weeds by his double wide, and then he ran out and stole it. And I was just like, stop trying to make him sound like redneck trash or something. It just really didn't work for me. I was like, okay, King, you are ruining the dynamic of this match. But this has got to be one of the better matches on the show. It's probably one of my top 2 matches, probably along with the Cole Dunn match, this match, and the women's elimination match. But yeah, again, I haven't really got too much more to say about this. I just wanted to say that I actually thought the commentary was really good. One of the good things about a striking match like this is that it's really easy to call strikes. So if it's just, like, oh, Strong gets a knee to the face, but Naka counters with a kick to the leg, AJ comes in, hits a big right, the back elbow from Strong, it's all really easy for him to get out, and I feel like I get a lot more out of it. So I was really looking forward to it, and I felt like it really delivered, and was like a 5 match, like a strong mid-section 5 match. Next up was Cole versus Dunn for the NXT Championship match. And again, this is one of the ones that I was really looking forward to. This is one of the reasons why I suddenly realised that I've got so little investment in the main roster superstars, because I was just like, yeah, oh, awesome. Just another match with plenty of NXT. And I know all of them were going to have it, but I don't know. It just felt good to have a proper Pete Dunn, Adam Cole match. And this was really, really good. Plenty of back and forth action. Both of them selling their injuries from the night before. Each other working different body parts, which I really enjoy. Obviously, Pete was working the arm quite a lot during this match. At one point he put it on the ring steps and stomped on it. He was going for joint manipulation a lot, tried for the finger snap a few times. Cole's working Pete's leg quite a lot, going for chop blocks and drop kicks and knee bars. Really trying to take him off his feet, and that definitely affected him a few times. I really liked the big massive spot that everyone will have talked about. That was probably one of the coolest things of the night for me. I definitely think that it was. So they're out on the apron, and Pete goes for a move, but his leg gives out, and Cole ends up hitting a Panama Sunrise on the apron and getting like a ooh from me and a holy shit chant from the crowd. Actually, talking about the crowd, as Cole comes out, everyone does the Adam Cole baby, and literally they do it so loud that I went, oh my god. I couldn't believe it. I was like, they are so into Adam Cole, which is great considering that he's a massive heel. I love the fact that he is somewhat of a chicken shit, but he can also back it up. People love him, but he's a dickhead, and it all just works so well. Like I said on the Takeover review, he's like he's the opposite of Rhea Ripley. He's a heel that wants to be a face. And I just thought that it worked really well. They both kicked out of each other's finishes. Obviously, Pete kicking out of the last shot, and Cole kicking out of the bitter end. He got the cross arm breaker at some point, Pete did. He got his moonsault in. He's kicking Adam Cole in the back of the neck. I don't know why I said Cole like that, as if there was another Adam in the match. But I thought that it was really good. I didn't really notice the commentary, and at that point, I don't mind. If there's nothing to say about them, whether it's positive or negative, I don't really mind. It proves that I was either too into the match or it wasn't too offensive, and either way I just didn't really notice it, and I really enjoyed this match. It was really good to get an NXT title match on one of the big pay-per-views, and to let people see what they could do. I felt like it was maybe a little bit watered down from what we'd get on, maybe a takeover main event or something like that. I feel like they'd have had a bit longer and maybe gone a little bit crazier or more brutal. But I think that it was a really good way of showing the main roster audience, look, this is what we can do. If you tune into NXT, this is the sort of wrestling you're going to get. We're going to go mental. We're going to go balls to the wall. We're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at each other. And I just thought that this was probably the match of the night. Like I said, it's funny because it's really at that point where by this point, I was like, God, there's only one more match left if this was TakeOver, because TakeOver only had the 4. I couldn't believe that so far NXT had the lead, and I was really impressed with the match that these two had. I was like, yes, this is really going to put NXT on the match. Did I think it was... Yeah, you know what? I find it really hard to decide. I think in terms of a match, the actual match, I think I would have to say it was the Strong Naka Styles triple threat, just because more went on and it was like, oh, and it was back and forth and never knew who was going to win. With this one, I was fairly sure that Cole was going to win, and at the same time, I'm really into both men, so that's the only reason why it takes the edge in it being an NXT Championship match. But hopefully we get to see these more often, but not too often, because I don't want to see NXT storylines playing out to a point where I have to watch the main roster shows, which is what happened with this. That's forgivable because it's for Survivor Series, but I don't want to have to watch TLC next month just because it's got NXT people on it and it's a story that I need to keep up with. We get Bryan versus The Fiend next, and this one I don't really want to stick on too much because this is the one that I watched the video package come on. I'm watching them recap this storyline and I'm like, man, this has flown right under my radar. I really haven't paid attention. And it sucks because Bryan's one of my favourite wrestlers. When I first started watching, it was, between him and Punk as the people that were my guys that I was like, yeah, I really love these. And it's really disappointing to me that Bryan comes out and I'm just like, oh, look, yeah, it's Daniel Bryan. I really hope that he gets to come to NXT at some point, especially now that Owens is mixing it up with the Undisputed Era. I feel like we're one step closer to that Bryan, Owens, Zayn and Joe faction that I've fantasy booked so many times. This was just sort of what you expect, really. It was The Fiend coming after Bryan really hard for the first portion of the match. Bryan's just selling everything. Then at some point, Bryan gets like a dive and a knee and takes him down. And after that, starts getting a little bit of offense in, hitting his corner drop kicks and his missile drop kicks and all that sort of stuff. Doing yes kicks, a lot of yes kicks, which is pretty cool because it really sort of tried to put over how much punishment the Fiend can take, where he's doing the yes, oh, and on the big yes, he actually wasn't going down, popping back up. This happened at least 3 times. He was begging for more. And then at one point, Bryan comes off the top, gets caught in the mandible claw, and reverses into an armbar, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure. Obviously, I haven't seen too many of these Fiend matches. I don't know how many people have managed to actually reverse or avoid that mandible claw, so I thought that was pretty good. But eventually, Bryan gets caught in the mandible claw and ends up passing out. And yeah, I thought that it was fairly decent, but just also pretty formulaic. Heel comes out, batters face comes back for a bit, gets some offense in, and then heel wins. Except just for this time, it was one of those monster heel situations, so it was like, heel beats up on face tries to come back, heel isn't even really bothered about the offense and then gets the win. And they did play up the fact that Bryan finally sort of channeled the yes movement, the crowd's attitude towards him and the energy into that, and tried to focus it, and maybe this will lead to an eventual Bryan face turn. That shows how much I haven't watched main roster, because I don't even know whether he's an actual face or a heel. Is he still the new Daniel Bryan or the Planet's champ or whatever? So I don't have too much more to say about that. The commentary was fine. It was pretty basic, but the match was pretty basic too. So next up is the men's elimination tag match. A couple of things from this that I liked, a couple of things that I didn't. The crowd really turned on this match for one reason, and one reason only. They'd been into this pay-per-view big time, but Walter gets eliminated by Drew Mack probably 5 minutes into the match, something like that. They did team up, Drew McIntyre and Walter. They teamed up to take on Braun Strowman for a bit. That was pretty cool. I liked that. And then they also had a little bit of a standoff at some point. They were chopping each other. That was pretty cool. And then Drew gets a Claymore kick and eliminates Walter. And after that, the crowd is booing And I just noticed that after that, they were just a lot more negative towards it. When Roman eventually tagged in, there was massive boos, and I was like, God, I thought we were past all this. And then the CM Punk chant started later in the match as well. And I was just like, man, it doesn't take much to turn those fickle wrestling fans, does it? Because they would have loved this match, I think. But they just weren't willing to, because Walter went out and they were like, oh. Also, the winner of the match being Roman. I personally don't mind. Having him be the sole survivor and winning isn't too bad. Because at the end of the day, it's not like they can have him never win a high stakes match again. And there are people out there that love Roman. A good friend of this channel, Sky, her mother is a massive fan of Roman, and thusly Sky herself gets enjoyment out of Roman matches and when he wins, and there are all Roman fans out there, and it's not fair that just because these smarky, entitled fans that think that they can control what WWE does because they read the dirt sheets or something, they're like, oh, boo, CM Punk, I don't like Roman Reigns. It's like, yeah, I get that you feel like Roman's been pushed down our throats, but they've done nothing with him this year for the most part. Since he come back from the cancer thing, they haven't really done anything with him. Yeah, they did that big story with the Who tried to murder Roman Reigns thing, but he's not been anywhere near a main event angle. He's not been anywhere near a title, and this isn't going to necessarily catapult him towards going for the title either. So I wasn't really sure why people were so pissed off about it. It doesn't help that, you've got some of the proper NXT golden boys in this match, what with having Riddle and Lee and Ciampa and Owens. And it's completely slipping my mind who the last one was. Mustafa Ali, didn't really seem to do much in this match, or at least commentary didn't say. When I was going through my notes, it was a tornado DDT that was delivered to Rollins, but the next note was him getting eliminated. One of the things I liked about this was that they really played up the tensions on Team Raw and Team SmackDown, with Seth and Owens not getting along, and Roman and Corbin not getting along. I don't know why I'm really struggling to work out who was on Team NXT right now. It was Ciampa, Riddle, Keith Lee, and now I'm really struggling to think of the others. You know what, let me go and check. Oh, it's Damian Priest. That's why I forgot. Even though he actually impressed me at TakeOver War Games, they really didn't have much to do in this match. I didn't have many notes about him. Ciampa was really impressive in this match. Had quite a bit of stuff against Randy, which I thought was pretty cool. He scouted an RKO at one point. They were battling over trying to get the draping DDT on each other. That was pretty cool. Orton was stomping him at one point. So I thought all that was pretty awesome. I'd actually really like to see a Ciampa-Orton rivalry, and that's coming from someone that's not a massive Orton fan. I did like that he really gave the people trouble. Roman and Rollins both had to really team up and work together to try and get him. They even tried to do a shield bomb on him at one point, but Keith Lee came in and stopped them from doing that. Ciampa was looking for the fairy tale ending on both of them, but each of them stopped the other one. And Keith Lee, I thought, put up a really good fight. Rollins ended up eliminating Ciampa with the stomp, and then Keith Lee was taking them both on. Keith Lee eliminated Rollins with a jackhammer, and he also counted a spear with a powerbomb, which I thought was pretty cool. But in the end, it just ended up being that Roman ended up getting the win, and I genuinely didn't mind. I genuinely didn't, but I also didn't enjoy this match that much. I don't know why. I feel like there was just a lot of, let's say with Strowman, there was a lot of just stock spots, like, okay, so now I'm going to do the bit where I do my impression of a charging bull and I run around the ring and knock people down. Okay, and now I'm going to do the one where I get posted because I'm running at someone but they move, and just all them sort of ones. I was really disappointed that Mustafa Ali didn't get more of a spot. Gable and Ricochet had a bit of a backwards and forwards at one point. which was alright. And Vic Joseph did a really good job of keeping up with the faster paced bits, but I just didn't feel like there was anything that really stood out or made me like, oh my god. But it was really solid and enjoyable, and it was. There was no way that NXT was going to get the clean sweep. So at this point, with them being, already, I'm not sure what the score was yet, but at least for the main show, they'd already won 2 of the matches. So there was no way that they were going to win all of them. And having Roman be the winner, again, I'm just not sure how smart it is, because people are gonna be sour. Like, when you've got all of those people like Riddle, etc. Well, not a big fan of the fact that Riddle got eliminated by Baron Corbin either. Not when you've got like Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns and Rollins, and I think I'd have preferred like just a Roman spear take him out than him be eliminated by Baron Bloody Corbin. Well, I didn't really feel like Keith Lee got much of a chance to shine either. I don't know whether it was just the commentary, but really in my notes he wasn't even there much until the last portion of the match. So while it was good and enjoyable while I was watching it, I can't really talk about it in a way that I'm like, yeah, awesome, and it's driven a story forward, and there was this really, really cool spot, because I don't really feel like there was anything there. I like the sound of Keith Lee countering a spear with a powerbomb. That sounds alright. That was probably the coolest spot of the match that I can think of. But yeah, I gave it like a solid 4+. Oh, let's just get through this next match quick. It was Brock versus Ray. There was just... It was a Brock Lesnar match. Look, they had a no-holds-barred match that just I wasn't really that into. I don't have much of a connection to Ray, and I hate Brock. Ray took the pipe to Lesnar's legs quite a bit. There was some suplexes. Ray got thrown over the Spanish announce table, got German suplexed on the pipe. Eventually, Dominic got involved. He's throwing in the towel on his dad, but Ray hit a low blow, and for just a hot minute I was like, oh, he might actually take the title off him here, and it sort of made the match even more annoying, because he gets the 60, he gets the low blow, and attacks him. Him and Dominic both attack Brock, and then Ray gets a 619 and 2 frog splashes, and they've shown that they're willing to take the title off Brock for a little while, just to give someone a bit of a run and then give it back to him. So I was sort of like, oh, we're going to get that, but then we get 2 F5s, one on each of the Mysterios, and Lesnar picks up the win. It was a Lesnar match. And the main event was Shayna Baszler versus Bayley versus Becky Lynch. We had a promo from Becky earlier on in the night that was just a standard Becky Lynch promo. I've never really been massively impressed by her. I'm so tough, I'm the man, I'm gonna come and collect my debts and all that sort of stuff. I've never really bought it. I've always found Becky quite goofy. Ever since she first come up to the main roster, I've just always found her sort of a little bit goofy and never really gotten behind her that much. So I've never been a massive fan of the man character. She's had good promos as this character, but I didn't think that was particularly one of them. Now, this main event was seriously overshadowed by the crowd. There was so many obnoxious, boring chants and stupid CM Punk chants. It's over, Chicago. I mean, I can't even say that anymore, though, can I? Because he's one step away from coming back. All this stuff with beefing with Rollins on Twitter, and Vince is mad at Rollins because he mentioned Punk on Raw. It's like, oh, we're being worked, and he's just coming back, and it's so annoying because I can't say, it's over, Chicago, just move on. They're like a clingy ex-boyfriend or girlfriend that is just, you've tried to move on for years, and they're just like, but we still love you, Punk, please. Please, Punk, we love you, just come back to wrestling. And it really does do my head in, because it seriously damages my enjoyment of a match, because I just start getting annoyed at the crowd. And yes, I know, oh, they paid for the tickets so they can do whatever they want. And it's like, yeah, they can, but at the same time, if you were at the theatre and you paid for a ticket and you were just like, whoa, boo, you're shit the entire time, you'd get kicked out for it. And I guess, again, playing devil's advocate there, it's a wrestling show, you got to expect it, but it's fair enough booing a heel. a cheer and a face. It's fair enough even giving your least favourite wrestler a bunch of shit, but to me, to sit there and basically chant, we don't care, or we don't want this, or we're not interested, is just bullshit to me. And if this had been, any other different main event, it just makes it feel like, and then those chants actually, like when we get to it, are pretty much always groups of men. I have never heard a group that sounds like women and children, like CM Punk, CM Punk. It's always grown ass men like CM Punk, CM Punk. I'm so cool. I'm a smark. And it's just, it really does my head in. But as for the actual match, I didn't think that it was the best match ever. I didn't think it was the most interesting match ever. I also don't think that it deserved the boring chants and the CM Punk chants. I think that the crowd just didn't want to like it. I don't really know why. They'd turned on the show since Walter got eliminated. They're all in bad moods, and for some reason they don't enjoy women's wrestling, because we always get this. We always get this. A women's main event, and they just decide, oh, well, it's actually a terrible story, so I'm going to chant CM Punk to tell them that I don't care, even though WWE just probably doesn't even care, or I don't know, it's just so obnoxious to me. I did enjoy that Baszler got to take on both Becky and Bayley. Bayley showed some good aggression in this. She got a double leg takedown at some point and started raining shots down on Baszler. She also went and got a Bayley to belly on Baszler at one point, I think, and Becky broke it up. So that was good. It sort of looked like, obviously, as an NXT fan, I was like, no, she's totally kicking out of that. A Bayley to belly is nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff she's had done to her. So I was sort of just expecting her to kick out, but having Becky break it up makes it look like there's a little bit more chance that Bayley might have beat her from that. They all sort of tried for the finisher throughout the match. Becky got a disarmer at some point. Bayley got, I know this isn't a finisher, but she got like the crossbody and the elbow and the stuff that she always goes for. There's a lot of ground game from Baszler. She got a gut wrench at some point. I think that the main point of this pay-per-view is just to be a showcase of, like, these are the people that we have, this is what they do, these are some of the staple moves that they do, and some of the iconic move sets or whatever. I think it was just a proper showcase, and that's what this was designed to be. It was just to show people what Baszler can do and how dangerous she can be. It introduces that possibility of a four horsewoman storyline. We also do get a little bit more of Becky and Baszler at the end. Baszler catches Bayley into the Kirifuda clutch and uses her legs to tighten the hold, keep it locked in, and then Bayley ends up tapping, and Becky attacks Shayna after the match because she's a sore fucking loser. Just as an NXT fan watching this, I was like, "Yo, get off of Becky, you stupid idiot!" Just leave the NXT Women's Champion alone. I'm a fan of that, and I don't like you anymore. I really did, as I was watching this pay-per-view, realise that I'm just an NXT mark, and I'm sort of not invested in the main roster stars. I'm struggling to talk about this match a little bit more now, because it was very basic notes that I got. I don't know whether it was just the commentary that made it sound sort of basic, or whether it was a basic match. Someone got dumped over the Spanish announce table at one point, with the monitor still on, etc, etc. But it was good, it was back and forth, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a decent main event, and good to see the women main eventing without it being a big massive deal, like, look, we've got the women in the main event, how good are we? It's just like there, and it happened, and it deserved to main event because of Baszler, because she's the best women's champ. But yeah, I think maybe if they'd have done Cole versus Dawn as the main event, that would have worked too. But yeah, I liked that the women got to main event and bookend the show. It's just a shame that the fans had to be really obnoxious and sort of ruin the match and make it all about them, like they always seem to try and do. So yeah, all in all, I thought that it was a decent pay-per-view, decent to good, but it wasn't great, and the really do need to start doing things like what they did with NXT TakeOver 25, where they have it as a completely unattached thing, because I genuinely do think that when you've got something like War Games the night before, it's not great for the wrestlers who've got to pull a double duty, like Adam Cole, who's got to take an air raid crash through a table off the top of the War Games cage one night, and then get in the ring with Dunn and do Panama Sunrises on the apron. It's not good for them to have to pull that sort of double duty, and everyone's always going to think that the main roster pay-per-view is worse because it's had something so good so close to it. I thought it was really good. Not really good. I'm sort of overselling it there, but I enjoyed the women's tag match. I enjoyed Pete versus Cole. I enjoyed Roderick Strong versus Styles and Nakamura. Other than that, I think I could have probably taken or left the rest of the show. I did enjoy the Bayley Becky match, but at the same time it was just way too overshadowed by the crowd. So for me, it was those first 3 matches, and then after that I probably could have just tuned out and not felt like I missed out anything too bad. It's just a shame that the crowd had to be so bitter and nasty towards the show after Walter got eliminated, because it was just like the guy that I liked gone, so now I don't like any of this show. But yeah, I don't think I'll end up watching the next main roster pay-per-view unless they have, NXT stars on it again. But for what this was, it was nice to see NXT getting the win, nice to see all of the NXT stars getting showcased and getting the eyes towards NXT a little bit more. It's definitely put them on the map a little bit more with the whole build and having them on this. So I just think that it was sort of a corporate job well done, but not the best pay-per-view of this year, or even, in the last few months, really. I don't know, I think I'd give it a 4+. I think that's about right. A 4+, because the first 3 matches were like sort of 4+ to 5, and then the rest of them were a little bit lower, maybe like a 4, or I know that I gave Brock and Ray a 3+. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Could have taken or left sort of the last half of it, but the first 3 matches were really, really great. If you've enjoyed this episode, click the like button, let me know. Remember, every interaction makes the YouTube algorithm like me more. And if you've got anything to say about Survivor Series or this episode of WITD, drop it down in the comments, you know where they are. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Mason_WITD. If you want to have a chat, come join the Discord server, the link for which will be in the description. I am off, and you guys should have a good one.